Okay, it's 7:05, so we'll get started. Hi, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the first webinar organized through the BITSAA Sahaaya initiative. We are a team that's looking to promote mental health awareness among the alumni and students of BITS Pilani. And we are doing this through the form of resources that we have put together on a page on BITSAA, as well as organizing regular webinars, podcasts, as well as blogs that will be made available for our audience. My name is Divya. I'm 2003 A4PS 297, and I lead the Sahaaya initiative. And my team members and co-hosts are Saket and Hardik for this session. I have the privilege to introduce our guest speaker to you today. So I'll take a moment to introduce him, and then he will take over for the first 30 minutes talking about the presentation, after which we will have an interactive Q&A session as well. Dr. P.N. Ravindra, MD, PhD, is currently an associate professor at the Department of Neurophysiology at the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, more popularly known as NIMHANS. He has specialized training in sleep and cognition and has a passionate interest in integrating Indian psychological aspects pertaining to yoga and meditation, neuroscience, and a special focus in understanding neuroscientific aspects of meditation and its effect on sleep and cognition. So he has a number of peer-reviewed publications in national and international journals of repute, and is a national faculty in conducting courses on sleep and sleep medicine. So his work has been recognized in the form of the Prakriti Mandir National Award from the Association of Physiologists and Pharmacologists of India, and he has a fellowship from the Mind and Life Institute. He has worked on a number of projects with the Ministry of AYUSH, DST-SATYAM, and has interdisciplinary collaborative projects with IIIT. And he's conducted a number of seminars and workshops before, and on various subjects integrating neuroscience with Indian psychology and philosophy. So it's a privilege for us to have him as one of our first guest speakers on this session. And so I want to thank you, Dr. Ravindra, for your time, and the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So I thank all of you, all the alumni of BITS institutes, and who has taken such a wonderful initiative to get an awareness about the mental health and the sense of well-being, what actually it is, and what is the science behind this, and what are those small actually the lifestyle habits that if we can really implement in our day-to-day life, in a long run it can bring about a sense of well-being and mental health. And I thank you, all of you, for this opportunity, and special thanks to Saket, who's there in our center. Wonderful work. Now, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah. So what I would like to do maybe in next 30 minutes or more is to give you a general overview about what could be the preventive strategies that we can adapt in our day-to-day life so that we can maintain our mental well-being, and also try to understand what is the science behind this. So one thing that we have to always remember that we are hardwired to connect, to seek meaning and purpose in our lives. Now, what do you mean by this hardwired? Hardwired simply means that somehow, somewhere in the course of evolution, our brain connectivity has been connected in a very with uh, a specific purpose and a meaning, and this connectivity is what which probably makes us to seek meaning and the purpose in our lives, because we seek the new things, and and we have to have a higher purpose in our life. So definitely we are venturing into those areas which we are interested in, and we seek to go for the fulfillment in our life. So this is a general framework. All of us, right, we are working in, irrespective of your geographical situation, irrespective of socioeconomic status, irrespective of position, or irrespective of educational background, or such as a human being, right, we seek some purpose in our life. Now, seeking this purpose in our life is what makes a difference between the animal and the human beings, and why this difference is, the difference is because, right, the way that our brain has hardwired by itself. Now, having known about this background, I think all of you are familiar with this. This is Maslow's hierarchical model, where at every stage of our life we seek, right, for the different aspects. The first and the basic need, right, is a physiological need for all of us, that where for the food, water, the shelter, and we need some safety needs. So this is the main basic purpose. Actually, there is no doubt that we are really trying to venture into whatever the field that we are into it. These are the most basic needs. For anybody it is needed, and these basic needs is also needed for animals. It's not only for human beings. The next level in the pyramid is the psychological needs, right, where we need a love and affection, we need the social connect, we need friends, we need a family, right? So this is to share, to connect with each other. That's the main reason why we actually venture into out, okay, to have a good intimate relationships and friends. Then above this is what that we need to satisfy, right, our a sense of feeling of accomplishments, right, in our life, in whichever area, or in whichever work that we are uh, working in. But the most important is the apex of the pyramid, where you have a self-actualization. Means that when an individual has realized his full potential and has expressed his full potential, is what the sense that he gets the fulfillment in his life. Now, all these things, it is not that it happens in a very systematic way in every stages of life, every day, every hour, in every stages of life, in bits and pieces, we are working towards accomplishing all these things. A small event can bring us happiness. A small event can bring us some sadness. A small event can induce a lot of emotions in us. A small event can say bring us some fulfillment, okay, some feeling of accomplishments. Now all these things, when accumulated together, right, we get a sense of that well-being. So well-being is a continuous process, where in this continuous process, every dot of this process, right, is very, very, very important. Now, having understood about this pyramid, we'll try to understand the three important, very much scientific facts. Based on these three important scientific facts is what I want to share with you, the different preventive strategies for which we can cater for our mental health and also well-being. Number one, brain is not a rigid structure. Your thoughts, your feelings and actions shapes your brain network. It is not that this, if somebody says this is the way that I am thinking, this is my thought pattern, and this is my way of thinking, or this is my personality, I am very rigid. No, it's not possible. By training, by modulating our thoughts, and by modulating our feelings, we can really shape the connectivity in our brain, in turn also our behavior. This particular aspect is called as neural plasticity. So brain is a very plastic organ where every single thought and feelings and the subsequent behavior as a resultant of what we think and what we feel, it shapes our personality and it shapes our neural network. Number two, the brain has a highway by connection, to and fro connection, right, with all the other systems in the body. Brain doesn't work as an independent entity. All of us, we know about this. It has a bilateral connection with all the other organs. It can be heart, or it can be your lungs, or it can be the whole your gastrointestinal system. So everything, whatever the changes that can happen in the environment of your brain, in terms of its changes in chemical structure, in terms of neurotransmitters, it will influence, right, our other organs. And whatever may be the changes that can happen at the periphery in our organs, it will also influence the brain. And that we have experienced. Whenever we are anxious, we know that our heart pounds. Whenever we are under stress, we know that our breathing pattern will change, right? Because the brain sends some signals, and automatically these organs, they started behaving in a particular way. And also we have experienced that whenever we are, say, a bit agitated, so it is quite thing, in the wisdom says, okay, you just take a deep breath, you can see that, okay, our mind definitely calms down, and there will be a lot of changes in the brain activity also. So the second important point that all of us we have to remember is the brain and the other organs, they have a bidirectional and their highway connections, and they influence each other. And other most important is, as we are hardwired for our, as I told you about, for the purpose of life, we are also always hardwired for goodness. We are biologically, we intend always to do good for ourselves and good for others also. This aspect, right, also plays a very, very important role in shaping our mind and shaping our brain, and in turn also our mental health. So you just please keep these three in mind, and we'll go, say, one by one. So we know that all our personality, we have all the different aspects. We have physical, intellectual, emotional, moral, and spiritual beings are there. And in yoga tradition, it has its own different terminologies, called as Annamaya. Annamaya Kosha is which it caters for your physical body, right? Pranamaya is that take the vital energy. Then you have intellectual, right? Then you have emotional, moral, and spiritual being. Now, catering for all these different aspects collectively is what it can bring about our mental well-being, and we'll try to see that what are the small strategies that we have to implement in our daily life, so that all these four components that is present, right, in our personality is used to its optimal level. Coming to the physical health. Physical health, three important things. Nutrition is very important. And the art of eating is there, that is very important. And also an exercise is very important. Why I have to emphasize on this is because now we all agree that what we eat, the way we eat, right, has been entirely changed. How we eat and what we eat is determined not by the nature or the way in which my biological needs are there, but the economy and the market is guiding what we are eating. It is not, at this point of time, it is not the physiological need or the physiological demand of what we eat that we are catering into. It's the market and economy is what is driving that, how we eat and what we eat. The first and foremost important is that you please eat whenever you are hungry. Whenever we are hungry, the body is demanding, yes, it needs some energy. Okay, you give some energy in the form of food to your body. Otherwise, if you are not hungry, you please avoid eating. This plays a very, very important role, right, as far as your metabolism is concerned, as far as your energetics is concerned. Number two, whenever you are eating, you involve yourself completely in the act of eating or enjoy the process of eating. We know how we eat. We eat, right, okay, looking at a, say, television, or we are in front of our laptop, or we are WhatsApp, or we are walking, or we are thinking something else, and we are just gulping whatever. No, it is there in front of us. We don't even bother to appreciate the taste of the food. It's so many times it can happen. We are so urgent. Okay, we are going to somewhere, to the office or to the classes, and we just gulp whatever is there in our hand, right? Maybe after some time we think, okay, what actually I ate. See, this aspects of eating has a long-term harmful effect on your process of digestion. The reason which I will tell you is, there are so many reasons, but the most important reason is the act of digestion doesn't happen when your food reaches your stomach, but it starts in the mouth. The salivary secretion when the bolus of food is there in your mouth plays a very, very important role in digesting certain, right, the either carbohydrates, proteins and fats, especially with that of the carbohydrates, and which is the important stimuli for the saliva to secrete. The vision of food, the taste of food, the smell of food, the touch of food. These things are very important stimuli where it can secrete a saliva to the mouth, and the saliva mixes appropriately, right, with the food, and at least 30 to 40% of your carbohydrate degradation or the digestion, it happens in the mouth itself. So we have to understand this. The way that we have to eat is very, very important. And also, once and occasionally, you please do fast. You know that fasting plays a very, very important role, and all of you should know that even the role of fasting in the life of a cell cycle, it has fetched a Nobel Prize also. So the fasting plays a very important role to have a very good life for the cells, and it has been shown to be very, very beneficial. So occasional fast is very, very important. And please drink a lot of water. So we know in the market you have an advertisement, right? You have a food packet, and where it is shown with, okay, either you have a carbonated drink along with that. We take a carbonated drink and with junk food, instead of what we consume these carbonated drinks, and we know this carbonated drinks has its own adverse effects. You just search in the Google, you will come to know all the adverse effect that is avoided with that. And please avoid or minimize the junk food as far as possible, because this junk food in a long run is highly detrimental, right? Not only for your general health, even for the health of your brain. It really spoils your neural network. So this is in brief what you have to take care of your basic needs about your food and about your nutrition. And other important is, okay, we should have a physical exercise every day. Minimum 40 minutes is a must. Why 40 minutes is a must is because the first 30 minutes or 30-35 minutes of our medium intensity of exercise, our carbohydrates will be used for the energetics. Subsequently is what the fats come into picture. So whenever we exercise, both the carbohydrates and fats should be used for, the burning of carbohydrate and fat both should happen. And minimum of 40 minutes of exercise is what it makes other neurotransmitters and chemicals to be released. Initially it will be stressful, I agree with that. Initially you may feel very tired, or initially because you are not accustomed for the daily exercise, it will be very tiresome, it will be and that motivation will not be there. But once you cross the 40 minutes of your exercise, along with all these the stress hormones, because I know, see, physical activity is a stress, there is no doubt in that, but subsequently all our endogenous opioids, means that feel good hormones are released, right, after say 30 or 40 minutes of you are doing a continuous exercise. And these feel good hormones plays a very important role, right, for the repair mechanism, so right, that can happen because of all this stress. And exercise has its own benefits, and all of us we know about this. And sometimes we have also habit to have a heavy exercise in the late in the evening. We may go to a gym late in the evening, right, and all. Please avoid heavy exercise late in the evening, because this is detrimental for your good sleep. So when I come to sleep, I will tell you about this. But having said all those things, right, yoga is always the best when you compare to the many other form of physical exercises. So your nutrition and exercise plays a very important role. Why this nutrition plays a very important role is because the present understanding of how the brain works or the mental condition is, whatever the nutrients that we eat, the essentials of amino acid, these plays a very important role as a substrate for secretion of many neurotransmitters in your brain. Say for example, somebody's anxiety is there, depression is there. So all these things are brought about because of some alterations in certain neurotransmitters. So there should be an adequate neurotransmitters. Now where these neurotransmitters they come from? Apart from the brain, even though brain has its own capacity to generate these neurotransmitters, the biological raw material to secrete of these neurotransmitters, it should come from the nutrition that we take. So have a nutritious food plays a very important role. And at this point of time, one of the buzzing word, right, in the field of mental health, we call it as gut-brain axis. So whatever the type of food that we eat, it determines my gut health, and it also determines some of the bacterial growth that can happen in the intestine. And if we increase a good bacteria with a good nutritionally highly nutritious food, and these bacteria in turn, right, facilitate the proper functioning of the brain also. So healthy diet, right, it plays a very, very important role to connect both the gut and the brain, and my gut health also determines how my brain works. So please do care about your nutrition, the way you eat, what you eat, how much do you eat, right? This plays a very, very important role. Now, so this is what I've been telling that, right? So my brain, my gut, and the hormones, all these things, right, plays an important role, right? Where we have this bilateral connection between, as I told you, between brain and the other organs of the body. So this is about a general view about which we can take about our physical health. Coming to the intellectual things. See, of course, all of you are very intelligent. Otherwise, you would have not been in BITS Pilani at all, or you have not been graduated by BITS. But one important thing, all of us know that we know that developing the ability to concentrate our attention is a key for our intellectual development and also for our emotional development. Both are very, very important. As this cartoon says, we know and we have experienced this, right? We know that, okay, when we have a lot of distracting events, right?
Hi, Dr.
Itself
Ravindra.
sometimes plays a very... Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now. I think we lost you for like less than 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Also, we can't see your video. Not sure if you've turned it off.
A slide? Can't you see the slide?
I can see the slide, but not your video.
Oh, okay.
Just in case. I wanted to let you know. Yeah, we can see you now.
Now? Okay. So there is one of the wonderful book which I recommend all of you to read. He is called as Man the Unknown by Alexis Carrel, who is a Nobel laureate. In that book, he writes that intellectual power can be augmented by the precise reasoning, logic, mathematics. Of course, all of us were trained in this, but most important is by the mental discipline and the skill that we have to develop for the complete and deep observation. Then he further says, incomplete and superficial observation, rapid succession of impression, multiplicity of images lack the intellectual discipline and hinders the development of mind. Now we have to understand what we mean by these rapid succession of impression and multiplicity of images. Why I brought this here is very important, because nowadays we are developing a habit of, say, watching hundreds of channels, browsing the hundreds of channels, say in a half an hour of time or 40 minutes of time, or every often we see a chat box, or we are into WhatsApp, or we are always into our mobile, or maybe on Instagram or Facebook to see that, okay, what are the comments that I have got with many, how much likes I have got, how many dislikes I have got, and all those things. Now these multiplicity of images and these rapid succession of impressions, right, hinders your development of mind or the intellectual discipline. Because when we are engaged in one aspect of work, when my whole brain and mind is in tune with that particular flow of thoughts, suddenly if I shift it to see my Facebook, or I shift into my WhatsApp, or my shift into this some other my social media, okay, now this sudden shifting and frequency of this shifting that is multiplicity. It impairs the encoding of whatever the information that we are into or we are reading into our brain and into our mind. So subsequently, our intellectual capacity will come down. So it means that whatever the work that we used to do, say for half an hour or 40 minutes, so in due course of time, the same type of habit, right, we will take more time to do the same work. Instead of doing that some work in half an hour, probably we'll take say 1 hour or 40 minutes or 2 hours to do the same amount of work. But the amount is the amount of work is the same. That we take a more time is because we don't have that. We have not developed that intellectual discipline, and it is hindering the development of my mind. Now, if you look at the brain, as I told you about the neural plasticity, see, you have two important things in the brain if you cut. We have this inner part of the brain and these the orange color over here. This is a new part of the brain. See, this part of the brain or the yellow part which you are seeing, see, this part of the brain is present in animals also. In the course of evolution, lot of layers have been added on this, and we have developed different capacities. But this old part of the brain that we see here, it is more associated with our emotion, aggression, self-preservation, or you see all our our psychological attributes, right? It can be jealousy, or it can be hatred, right? It can be lust. So you can see all these Harishadvargas, we call it like Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsar, all the different qualities, right? It is associated with this your limbic system. Then we have the higher part of the brain. So it is associated with lot of our rationality, intellectual things and all is with the higher part of the brain. Now we have to understand this brain works in a hierarchical model, and the higher part of the brain as I told you about the neural plasticity, whatever the type of food that we encourage in our mind consciously again and again, the type of thinking that we encourage, that part of the brain it becomes more and more stronger. If you always think in terms of your Harishadvargas, that which I told you, the limbic part of the brain will become very strong, and the part of the brain that was there to induce your higher capacity, right, I cannot say it becomes weak, but the emotion will determine, right, your intellectual capacities. But on the contrary, if we consciously, right, think about the holistic thoughts, intellectual discussions, right, the spiritual discussions, where our neocortex or the new part of the brain that we possess as a human being, and we encourage those thoughts and those discussions consciously, repeatedly, again and again. So as I told you, the plasticity changes will induce, and that in turn can control the limbic system. So never allow your hormones to hijack your intelligence. Always. So our intelligence, our higher things should always control our emotions. But sometimes, always, what happens, that we allow our emotions to rule our life or rule ourselves. This is one of the major cause for our some of the psychological or the states or the emotional turmoils, sometimes that we may undergo. Now, what is that we can make, or what is that we have to do to see that our higher brain, that is this orange part of the brain, right, that so that we can increase the capacity of that. Apart from the rational thinking, logical thinking, okay, all those things, the most important part of the brain, right, which on this orange part which I told you is called as frontal lobe. That part of the brain is what that is present just behind our forehead. We call it as prefrontal cortex or the frontal cortex. And what makes the difference between one person to another person is how actually this part of the brain, that is your frontal part of the brain, right, it is getting connected to the other parts of the brain. That makes the difference between one person to another person. And the unique capacity that the nature has given us is to traverse in time. Today I can sit here and I can imagine how my life should be there, say in 10 years down the line, and I prepare accordingly. So this mental traverse, right, is a very unique capacity for the nature has given us is only because of this prefrontal cortex. Therefore, our mental well-being is dependent on what do we think about ourselves. How do we think about ourselves? That plays a very, very, very important role. So how do we strengthen this frontal lobe? So, okay. So before that, so all these negative things which I told you about all these Harishadvargas, you would have seen, see it can be what the anger or a jealousy, it comes so spontaneous, right? It is not consciously, we cannot make that, okay, I'm becoming jealous now, then jealousy will come, or I become anger will come. No, it becomes so spontaneous, right? But otherwise, if you look at those qualities which you have to develop, where you have to control your anger or jealousy or lust or whatever it is, you need training. It doesn't come spontaneous like that. Now, the frontal lobe, which I have told you, the nature has given this wonderful brain, or the part of the brain where it is like a fertile ground where we can train ourselves, and this training is embedded and seeded in these areas, and it becomes our habit subsequently of a long period of training. So ants, which I've given you, but it's just an automatic negative thoughts, right? So all these negative thoughts are so automatic, and when we consciously encourage these negative thoughts, right, in our brain, right, so our higher creativity, intellectual capacities, rational thinking, it comes on, because our emotional brain takes a lead part rather than the cortical areas or the higher aspects of our brain. And why this is very important, especially I'm focusing on these youngsters with all of you, because if you look at this, my frontal area, the peak development will happens in my adolescent and adult year. As I told you, it's a fertile ground the nature has given, and we can sow a seed that the way we want. You want a mango seed, you can sow a mango seed, or if your life want to be always a katta, you can sow a neem seed. But it all depends on what thought that you encourage consciously, or right, in your mind. Because it is in its peak, right, in its development in the adolescent and adult age, that's the why we experience impulsivity, lack of planning, some lack of decision making in this particular age. Why is this? Because our frontal lobe is not fully functionally matured. It is not efficiently connected to my limbic area, right? So emotion rules my life at this age, right? But my frontal lobe is highly fertile, and it is peak at its growth naturally. So this is the time where you have to sow a seed of positive thoughts, holistic thoughts, spiritual thoughts, intellectual thoughts, right? And have a very grand vision, right, for our life, so that we can walk the path to realize that what we have envisioned, right, for our life. So how do we make, right, this brain to be very strong? Studies have clearly shown your regular meditation practice, right, will increase the size of your frontal cortex. Now, what do you mean by increase in the size? Not in terms of centimeters or meters or something, it is growing to increase, right? The layers of the brain, the connectivity, okay, between the different areas of the brain will increase, right, because of this, this meditation practice. So your nutrition, physical exercise, and every day, at least for 15 to 20 minutes, you please devote, right, for prayer and meditation. It plays a very, very important role. It is not something very religious. It is not something very philosophical. We have a very hardcore scientific facts how regular prayers and meditation will shape my brain, will shape my mind, and it plays a very important role for my mental, well-being. And the other important thing is also, right, we have to, at least for certain time, we should know how to breathe. Just, I'm not talking about some breathing exercise or pranayama or whatever it is here. Just a simple deep breathing, say for every 10 minutes. It brings about a lot of change, right, in your body, in your system, and also in your brain. Now, this slide has clearly showing you a simple deep breathing that we call it as diaphragmatic breathing. It decreases your cortisol, that is your stress hormones. It increases your melatonin. Melatonin is such a hormone where you take anything good, right? The melatonin comes there and it says, hi, I am here, right? It is anti-stress, anti-aging, feel good hormone. You take anything which is good, the melatonin is very, very important. A simple deep breathing reduces your stress and increases your anti-stress hormones. So please practice at least 10 to 15 minutes, at least 10 minutes of a simple, highly conscious, concentrated, deep breathing practices. In long run, that plays a very important role. How it plays an important role? Studies have very clearly shown all my different areas of the brain, they synchronize with each other the way in which I breathe. Deeper the breathing, more is a synchronization. So this is what it shows here, right? That, and this effect of the synchronization is not only during breathing. Even after my breathing, this particular synchronization, it lasts even say nearly around 15 to 20 minutes, even after my deep breathing also. So when my whole brain is synchronized, it means that what? My whole mind is synchronized. When my mind is synchronized, what does it mean? I have developed an efficient capacity to face the challenges. Why we are not facing, why sometimes we fail to face the challenges is because my mind and my brain is not completely, it is not synchronized. So exercise, nutrition, regular prayers, right, and deep breathing, it plays a very, very important role. I just say last couple of things. Now, what actually you meant by stress? Everybody, we know we have the stress. Now, stress is nothing to do what is the amount of time that you have put in to do some work or read or for some projects, nothing like that. It's everything to do with how do you feel while doing something. So your stress is related to your emotions, not to the way that, not to the work. So modulating our emotions, plays a very, very important role. Now, how do I modulate my emotion? My emotion, right? We can modulate when we synchronize both my right and the left brain. Left brain, it is associated with lot of logical, sequential, rational, analytical thinking, and all our education system, we are trained in this. But on the contrary, we also have right brain, which is more holistic, which is more artistic, which is more creative. So we have to develop certain hobbies, right, also, right, in our life, which will enhance, right, our right brain activity also. So this will also play a very important role, right, in your maintaining your well-being. And the other important aspect is this. So Mr. Muller, who is a geneticist who got a Nobel Prize, so he has given this particular statement. He says, to say that man is made up of certain chemical elements is a satisfactory description for only those who intend to use him as a fertilizer. Today, that in the field of biology, we always read as a human being as a conglomeration of many chemicals. So he just says, if the human beings is made up of only chemicals, then you use him as a fertilizer. But we are something beyond this. So this is what Swami Vivekananda says, that you have a divinity within you, and we have to express that divinity. So this is what I meant, my third thing which I told you, that we are hardwired to do a good work or for the goodness. Why is that? We have that natural tendency always to do good for ourselves and also for others, is because consciously or subconsciously, right, we know that, right, we are spiritual beings, all of us, we are linked with each other, right, and we have to help each other. Do you think that we have some say scientific basis for this? Yes, we have. And I think I'll spend some time on this slide. I think in long run it plays a very important role. See, we have different motivational systems in our human brain. What makes us to motivate to do something? So number one is always about the basic thing, which I told you, if you remember the hierarchical model, is about the threat-based, right? So I have some threat, okay, I have to overcome that. That will motivate for me to do something. And all of us, we are experiencing about that, right? Whatever whether we are students or professionals or in office, right? One or the other challenges are there. And to face those challenges, to meet these challenges, that will motivate me to work something. And most of us, we work for some incentive. If I work, okay, I will get a promotion. If I work, I'll get some publication. If I work, okay, I may get some perk. If I get, okay, I'll be promoted or something. So you have some incentive. Now both these two, whether we work with an attitude of for the threat or with that of incentive, it always comes with a cost, because both is related to some amount of stress system, and which will increase your stress hormones. If you don't develop those lifestyle which tips which I had given you, your anti-stress or the chemicals which can mitigate the effect of this stress, if it is not there, if you don't encourage, then gradually what is going to happen is this stress hormone will accumulate, and this has a detrimental effect on your neural network, on your neurons, and the capacity of neurons will come down. So also our productivity will come down. This is the most important, the reason why very youngsters, when you join some company, initial couple of projects is fantastic and wonderful, and subsequently we know that our performance is gradually, it comes down. It's not because of aging. right? I'm talking you some who are something or in their early 30s or 35. Gradually it comes down because our attitude for our work, or we have not encouraged some other environment to be created in our brain. How do I do it? There is one more motivation system in our brain, right, which is caring with love, with content, with service to each other. When we do that without expecting anything, my service to other people, that will induce a sense of satisfaction, right? And it will induce a certain different hormones, for example, like oxytocin, which is an anti-stress, which is also feel good or the contented type of hormones. So in the present scenario, whether you're studying or working, there is no doubt the threat focused or the incentive focused, there is no doubt it is a more, the motivation for you to work in your professional career. But at the same time, every day, at least quite often, you please go and do serve, right, for the needy also. So whether it helps the needy or not, that's a different issue, but definitely with a proper attitude, if you work, right, serve them, do for the work for the larger benefit, it is good. It will definitely create a very good chemical milieu in your brain, right, and which in turn, right, will will efficiently, which will facilitate for you to also work and face the challenges. So that's why service plays a very, very important role. You please serve others also. But one important thing, right, always they say, see, situation is like that, circumstances is like that. I cannot change. What should I do? So am I free to take some decisions? Yes. The situation you don't have control. How do you act? You have a partial control, but the attitude in which you act, you have the complete freedom. So we have to have this a proper attitude for ourselves, and the way that we work, this will definitely has its own beneficial effect on your mental well-being and also on your brain. So this is my summary slide, which will tell that lot of genes that are present in our brain, the frontal cortex, which I told you, that front part of the brain, right? These are all biological in nature. Suppose I have a susceptibility to get into anxiety, I have a susceptibility to getting into depression, I have a susceptibility to getting into an addiction or alcohol, tobacco, whatever it is. For everything there is a gene. There is no doubt in that. But the expression of those genes is also dependent on the non-genetic aspects. Nutrition, which I told you, plays a very important role. The way you motivate yourself, it plays a very important role. And your emotional status, it plays a very important role. All these things, it brings about whether these genes which are expressed, right, or which is latently present in your brain, whether it is expressed or not. Depending on these, right, it of course it determines, right, whether your competency or your performance. Of course, we are a very good performance in short term, but if you want to sustain your competency for a long term, right, all your non-genetic variations and the balancing of your intellectuals and your emotional capacity plays a very, very important role, for which every small act in your day-to-day life, from your eating behavior, right, to your prayers, for your meditation, and also the way you think about yourself and to serve others, okay, plays a very important role in shaping your brain circuitry, which can bring about an entirely different type of environment in your brain and mind, and which sustains your the mental well-being. And studies have shown if you do all these things, right, the prefrontal cortex, which I told you of your left prefrontal cortex, it lights up, it will be very active, right, which has all these components with your purpose of life, acceptance, positive relation with others. So all those things, it plays a very, very important role. So this is what I want to share. I think it's time now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravindra. It was a very insightful presentation. It touched on a number of aspects, right from the hierarchy of needs to a wonderful summary of everything that you have mentioned, with kind of looking at actions and takeaways that we can take away from the session immediately and start applying in our life. So that was very helpful. I think because we have already crossed our time, scheduled time, we will take a couple questions from the audience. So if anyone had any questions, please feel free to either type in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask a question to Dr. Ravindra. I had one question while anyone in the audience reaches out. I had one question. So you provided some immediate kind of actions, right? So you mentioned about deep breathing for at least 15-20 minutes. I think yoga as the recommended exercise, but at least 40 minutes of like exercise, etc. Do you also suggest like a period of time this has to be done, say like a minimum of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? Where you can actually see optimum results?
Yeah. So to get the optimal results, so at least a regular and a conscious practice, at least for 3 months, is a must. Mm-hmm. Right?
Okay.
For to get an immediate so the effect. But if you want a long-term effect and that effect has to be sustained for a long period of time, the practice should be very regular. See, all these practices is like that the way we eat food every day, right? Yes. So food is a must for us for every day. We cannot say how long I should take food and how many months I have to take food, right? And the physical food which sustains my physical health. So similarly, right, for mental well-being, all these things at least in a small component for every day is very, very important.
Okay, thank you for that.
So Saket here. So actually, a lot of students, they complain saying that they don't have enough time to say practice meditation or do yoga. Where is the time? There are so many exams, so many assignments, etc. So in such kind of cases, what can students do?
Okay. See, time is there to everybody. I don't say that okay, there is no time, because for everyone we have only 24 hours. Okay, you can take for anybody, from a Nobel laureates to the most idiotic person on this earth. They have only 24 hours. You can't increase the even 1 minute, like after 24 hours. But if we can increase the efficiency of hours, work efficiency of hours, right, then we'll get lot of time will be there. Now, so looking at the long-term prospects where we can increase our efficiency, that we have to invest some time now. So for this, okay, there are so many other aspects. Of course, I told you about physical exercise or yoga, minimum 40 minutes. See, that is fixed and you have to do it. I think 40 minutes is not at all a problem. It should be there. But as far as when I said about deep breathing, right, it is not that okay, you have to sit in your room or a house and do a deep breathing. No. So you are in your class, you are in your lab, or you are waiting for a bus, you are waiting for your friend, okay, or you're in a canteen and you're waiting for your order, right? Instead of going to WhatsApp or your Facebook or social media, okay, just say for a couple of minutes you will just sit and do a deep breathing. That itself brings a lot of benefits. And other most important, which I didn't really touch, but I would like to do now, is the sleep, right? So especially in this age, we tend to wake till in the midnight for the various reasons, which is very unwarranted. So if we can really tune our lifestyle, everyday lifestyle, right, for all this circadian rhythm that what we we call, and especially with the night, and especially with the sleep, right, our morning will be very, very efficient. Why most of our morning hours we don't feel that it is very inefficient? Because we will not having an adequate sleep in the night. Why we don't have adequate sleep in the night is because of the faulty practices that we have practiced, okay, since months and years, that is hamper for our quality sleep. What are these practices? I'll just go through that. Number one, as I told you, heavy exercise in the evening, that will disturb your sleep. And before going to bed, if you are into your say social media, into your uh, electronics media, or all those things, that will definitely hamper your sleep. So switch off all these things at least half an hour before going to sleep. That will facilitate your brain to go into the sleep mode. Avoid coffee, tea, or any other beverages, right, at least after. So these excitatory things will definitely it will hamper your brain to go into sleep mode. Nicotine, cigarette, any form of tobacco consumption will hamper your the sleep. And the other the important thing is, you always please fix the timing of your sleep, your sleep time and your wake time. In case sometimes your sleep time is also changed, but see that you wake up at the same time. So because of all these faulty things and faulty practices, we feel that we don't have time. Otherwise it is 24 hours to everybody, and whatever we have to do in this 24 hours itself.
That's very true. Yeah.
That's a very helpful input. Thank you, Dr. Ravindra. Any other audience questions?
Dr. Ravindra, I just had a couple of queries. As in, what are the biggest myths that people have with respect to mental health and mental well-being, and how do we go about breaking those stereotypes or myths that they have?
I cannot hear. Hello?
Am I audible, sir? Am I audible?
Aditya, can you repeat the question? I heard you, but I think Dr. Ravindra is having some connection issue. Can you please share?
Sure. Doctor, I just wanted to know what are some of the biggest myths that people have regarding mental health and mental well-being, and what can we do to help them overcome those those beliefs that they've already been set with maybe a young age, or maybe due to their upbringing, or any other reason for that matter.
Okay. So the biggest myth that all of us we have assumed is that, okay, happiness is the only component of well-being. It's not so. Both the positive and negative, right, plays a very important role, right, in shaping our mind, and also the capacity of our mind, and also the mental well-being. Both should be there. But how do we handle the negative things is what the skill that we have to develop. So this is number one. The second one, all of us, okay, we have a myth that, okay, I can handle the situation when it arises. It's not so. As we prepare ourselves, say for example, to go to a party or go to a marriage or whatever it is, we have to prepare ourselves mentally also to face the challenges. Now, this mental preparation is possible, right, only in the prime age of our life. It is not that when the situation arises, okay, that then I will handle it. So this preparation is very, very important. So these two, I think, are the presumptions that everybody of us we have. So happiness is no doubt it is one of the determining factor, but it is not the only factor. Negative also plays an important role, but how do we handle those negativity, or we can balance both the positive and negative in the skill that we have to acquire, and we have to acquire that skill, and we have to give time and effort to develop that particular skill. So don't assume that this is naturally, okay, we have that capacity to handle the the situation, but it is a skill that we have to acquire, and we have to get trained for that.
Yeah, in addition, as sir mentioned in the slides, one of the other myths is brain is rigid. It is not. There's an innate
Yes.
tendency for the brain to be neuroplastic, to be dynamic, to change to situations. So this is one more myth which needs to be really looked at.
Thank you. Thank you for that question and answer, Aditya and Dr. Ravindra. We have one question from Nikhil. He asks, sir, is therapy necessary in changing negative thoughts? And for whom is it recommended?
Is what therapy?
Is therapy, I guess, yeah.
Okay. See, the concept of therapy or the intervention will come only when there is a clinical situation or the diagnosis of any psychological or the psychiatric condition. But otherwise, all of us, every day we undergo some anxiety, some depression, whatever it is, but for a short period of time. But we have the tendency to cope that and come out of it and start our normal routine. But if somebody is less resilient, means that what? He is emotionally engaged in the same negative thoughts or for a long period of time, which can lead him to a depression or an anxiety or any other the psychiatric condition. In that case, he need a very structured way of therapeutic approach, and he has to seek a professional help. Otherwise, our normal day-to-day lifestyle modification in small and bits is quite suffice enough. But it all depends on the condition and the situation. But definitely for a normal person, you should have good, like a mentor or a counselor, whomever you think. It can be your parents, brothers, sisters, friends, teachers, professors, whoever it is. If you think, okay, by talking to this particular person, I will get some insight, I'll gain some wisdom, right, to decide about that. So you should have, or you should choose one mentor always, and it's a must.
Thank you for that, sir. That was a very important point. I think we should always look at preventive strategies before we then go towards something like therapy.
Yes.
One of the things that we have kind of looked at with Sahaaya is mainly to raise awareness of the fact that there are so many ways that you can support your mental well-being. So thank you for that important message. Are there any last questions? We can take one last question if anyone has from the audience, else we'll close for the day. We've already crossed more than 15 minutes from the session time. Okay, if there's no more questions, then I'd like to take one more time. Thank you so much, Dr. Ravindra. This has been
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Insightful and exciting, start to kind of learn about mental health and mental well-being. And we are really grateful for your time, all your inputs and valuable suggestions. And I hope that each one of us can apply some of the things that you've shared with us today. And hopefully the students can also kind of get back to their, work now, because they have comprehensive exams coming very soon. So from Team Sahaaya, I would like to thank the presenter, thanks co-host, as well as thanks all the students for making time, especially while you are kind of in the midst of several exams. And I hope that you will be able to apply some of the things you've learned today. So thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much for all of you. I really enjoyed interacting with you people. And so as you know, at NIMHANS, we have the Center for Consciousness Studies. It's a state-of-art center and the only center in India where we study brain, mind, right, emotions, sleep, yoga, meditation, consciousness, right? And your friend Saket is doing a wonderful work over there. Those who are interested to pursue, it can be their passion or their career. And so in the field of neuroscience, all of you are welcome. It is not that only from a biology background the people should get enrolled here. So like Saket, we have a few of also from the engineering background. So you are most welcome if you want to pursue anything in the neuroscience and psychology. And this is a place where you have to really look into it. So thank you very much.
And also, if somebody is interested in doing a thesis or a short-term project, they also can look into it.
Yeah.
So Saket, would you be able to serve
Yes,
as a point?
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. Yes.
Saket can be the person whom people can connect with.
Yes. So like any
Hopefully,
aspect of
Saket
neuroscience.
share an email ID or something with everybody, and they can.
Saket, can you leave your email in the chat box for everyone, just in case? But also, we have the Sahaaya email that I will leave for everyone. All right. Thank you so much.
Our studies is not only of biology related; it has a lot of programming also. So
Yeah.
people who are interested in programming can also come.
Yeah.
A lot of networks and all that. So yeah.
Deep learning, network analysis, AI, so many things.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.